Let's see if that works. Okay, so I'll start sharing my screen here. I'm gonna be like really good at this by the end of it. I wonder if it'll work that way. I think you can see all the stuff to the side, but that should be fine. Okay, so we just started this little, it's like an educational series to kind of support our families and other families while we're kind of working from home during this time for however long that lasts. So it's basically, the purpose is to provide support to families with an emphasis on children with autism and other developmental disabilities, but also some practices that can be used for neurotypically developing kids as well. So we identified as a group some topics that we thought that people would want to see or have questions about. So there's quite a bit of them there. I think we're probably good through mid-June, and then just based on what parents want to see, we can add topics. So some of them have dates, some of them don't yet. We're just trying to get what we can together based on what people want to learn about most and when our presenters are ready. So then who is presenting? So over this series of videos, it's going to be 2 people. They're all employees of HealthWest. They're either on the autism team or the youth behavior support team. So it's a big collection of behavior analysts, BCABAs, master's level behavior specialists. There's social workers and case managers, support coordinators, and behavior analysis technicians. So we're making good use of their time while they're very slow. And that's pretty much what we all look like right there. Because I haven't mastered the art of looking at myself while I talk. Yeah, one of the us. So they all have a background in behavior reduction, working with the DD population, skill building, things like that. So today we wanted to kind of give like an intro to what we're doing and kind of skim a few topics, and then mainly focus on I think support, so let's see, here we go. When your child's routine is disrupted. So that's happening for a lot of people right now, not just children, but all of our routines are interrupted. So supporting your child through uncertain times. I figured I'd start this with my boss, and then she's off today. So I enlisted the help of the wonderful Teresa. It's gonna help me go over everything. But I manage the HealthWest Autism Program in Muskegon. And Teresa, you want to give a little?
Okay, I'm a master's level behavior specialist with the autism program at HealthWest, and I will be helping Holly out today as we go through this this training. Please feel free to type in any questions that you have, and when Holly has a break, I'll kind of ask her those questions that you're asking. So please ask lots of questions, and anything, you know, anything that we can maybe help you with to make your life, your child's life better. Anyway.
Absolutely. Be posting the resources in the chat too as requested or as we go. So feel free to ask for those if we go through them too quickly. So this is going to cover the following 4 topics: how to support an understanding of what COVID is. I think that that's really important to kind of move on to the rest of those things. Let's see, the importance of maintaining or creating a routine. I think that some people already have routines, especially if you've been working with behavior specialists and things like that. So it's important to maintain those routines, or where you can help create new routines as we move forward. How to spot behaviors as communication, and then why it's important to prioritize coping and calming strategies during this time. So here's some ways to support an understanding of COVID-19 with children. It's kind of important to find out what they already know, what they've been told, how much they've been told, and who they've been told by. I think that the schools talked a little bit about going off on break before we went on break. I know that there's news and sometimes of different households, if parents, there's a different house between mom and dad. Sometimes you get more news from family here, more news from family there. So it's important to find out what they already know so that you can know where to go from there. It's important to follow their lead, kind of meaning let them ask the questions. And if they don't have a lot of questions, that's okay too. Processing time is different for every kid. So that's why it's important to make sure that you're checking in regularly to see if they do have questions or what else they might have learned since the last time you had that conversation with them about what they think that the coronavirus is or what they might be feeling about what they're hearing. It's important to offer comfort and honesty when it comes to the situation. They may have questions about why certain places are closed. I know that my son had a birthday 2 weeks ago and he was real upset that the party that we planned didn't happen, and he didn't quite get that because he's still pretty little. So questions about why places are closed, and okay to let them know that, you know, they're doing their best to keep us safe and this is just what we need to do for now. It's okay also to not have an answer. We hear a lot of conflicting things every day. Things change constantly, information changes quickly, so lots of information is being given to us at multiple times on a daily basis. So if you don't have the answer, that's okay to just say that too. Would say remember to be developmentally and age appropriate by not giving too much information that can sometimes be overwhelming. I think it's overwhelming as an adult to hear all of the things you log on to the computer and there's always new news or on the news or on the radio. So that's why it's also a good idea for really everyone, not just kids, but to limit the amount of news you're taking in. It can be, lots of studies show that's anxiety producing. Things change really quickly. So what you might have known one day, it's different than next. So not necessarily to like ignore it at all by any means, but just to limit it to maybe a few sources would be a great idea. Showing and modeling calmness. So you probably already know that kiddos can pick up on when you're feeling different emotions, and the same as with anxiety. So helping to model the kind of calmness might help ease their anxiety a little bit. Okay, so offering validation when you guys are having those conversations with your kid is really important. It's important to let them know that it's okay to feel anxious. But, they're not alone in that. Other kids feel anxious, adults feel anxious too, and that's a normal emotion and feeling to be having. Doing that might help them feel a little bit more in control of being in such an uncertain situation. They might feel more in control by having those honest conversations like we talked about before. We know that our kiddos don't tend to get as sick as other age populations and things like that. We can give them tips about how to feel more in control by letting them know that this is why we wash our hands and staying home. These are things that can help them, give them that feeling of control when it's uncertain and there's lots of information. Some kiddos that have difficulty understanding some of those things that can be done through social stories. We'll have another one of these events where we talk just specifically about social stories, what to put in the story, how to put that together, how to present it to your kiddo. So we'll be looking for that soon too.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, are you doing social stories, Teresa? I figured. That's why. She's our social story queen, let me tell you that.
I love them.
Right. Another good thing to do is offer video chats in any of the formats that you can. This can be good for a number of reasons. Social distancing doesn't have to mean social isolation. I know that a lot of them have been a lifesaver for people. They're not regularly seeing people in person that they would. And this is like grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins from school, but also like their teachers and their daycare providers. I know that some schools are reaching out and doing some Zoom sessions, some are not. And I don't think it would be too much to reach out to a teacher and see what they've got going on. Teens especially will worry about other people, so it's beneficial for their anxiety to maybe have that face-to-face chat with people and see that they're doing okay, and talking with them about how they're doing. And this can actually even get you a little break. They're busy talking to a grandparent or someone they've been missing. Let's see. Taking care of your own anxiety is also very important. I know we talked about, okay, model calmness. Well, that's great, but you have to take care of yourself too. They always think of, when they tell us about, the flight attendant recommendations, when you're told to put on your oxygen mask before you help with others, because if you're not doing well, they're gonna be able to tell that. Keeping them busy. This has been by far one of the things that people wanted to talk about the most. How do I keep them busy? This is like a new 24-hour job. A lot of places will talk about exercise being mentioned. It's great for reducing anxiety, great for physical health, mental health. There's also a chance that while they're busy doing that, you can get some of your time. Lots of art projects, and then I'm going to post some resources, I think, in the next one, and then we can post them in the chat too. Just a bunch of different things that don't take a whole lot of planning to keep them busy at that time. And the last one is accepting and asking for help. There is absolutely nothing wrong with asking for help. It's not always as simple as it sounds. And that can be for you or your child. If you need to contact a friend or someone to talk to you while you can, or if it comes down to something like even having those regularly scheduled video chats with a grandparent or someone that's close to the child, that can be a nice little respite for you. Okay. So there's some resources here for supporting the understanding of COVID. There's how you talk about COVID to someone that might have an intellectual disability. There's a comic about understanding COVID that's geared towards school-age kids that they're thinking that's pretty cool. How to support emotional well-being, which is really important, and how to support children and yourself during COVID too. So we can get those and copy and paste them into the chat. The next one is also resources for keeping busy. 13 ways to keep your kids busy at home. PBS daily activities for families. This is awesome because you can sign up for free. They can give you daily activities to do with the entire family. The next one, these are apps for different exercise apps that your kids can get into. Cosmic Kids, Go Noodle, and Exercise Buddy. And Exercise Buddy is specifically designed for kids with autism. And then a list of 101 ways to keep your kids busy. So I understand that those might last for a couple days if it's ever going anything like it is in my house. The next part is talking about the importance of maintaining and creating a routine. So if you've been going through a routine with your family, or if you need to create a new one. So many children with autism do struggle with change. This is a bigger change, so you're going to see that struggle with children with autism, with neurotypically developed children, and with adults. I know that I've needed some time to adjust to the change for sure. So the recommendations are to continue your routine as normal as possible. It's kind of seems impossible right now, but what they're really talking about is meaning do your day how you usually would. If this means getting up, getting showered, getting dressed, brushing your teeth, all those things that you would usually do when you would get up to get ready to go to work or go to school, start your day that you normally would. If you have any resources from the school to help you kind of fill in some of those gaps, that's great. I know that not everybody is getting them or getting them yet. It's my kids' first day with their resources, and it didn't really go any different so far than how it usually goes. It was chaos. So use those if you have them, but don't feel guilty if it's difficult to keep your kid engaged in schoolwork in a home setting. It's not typical for them. It's not typical for you. No, I don't think any of us here are teachers. I certainly didn't sign up to be one, so it's very difficult. And I feel, oh yeah, I forgot. Teresa, you were a teacher for 20 years, weren't you?
22.
Yeah, see? She was like, I did. So Teresa, it's too bad. I might have to have, oh yeah, social distancing. I was going to say, have you come over and oh. But creating and keeping that routine is especially important if they're out of daycare or school because the change is bigger. So another recommendation they have is giving a space, if it's possible, to have like a designated area for where they will do their schoolwork. And I know that they're saying, in the direction that I got from a lot of the schools also, is you can't expect them to stay busy for as long a period of time. I know it's so much easier when we have our ABA therapy. You have a person there that's, with that person 100% of the time, and we're teaching him how to do things for longer and longer, but it's almost impossible in a setting like this. I think they're saying like, try to go 5 minutes and then take a very long break and then do another 5 minutes and take a very long break. So to keep those short and sweet, and don't feel guilty. I know getting a lot of guilt emails about how bad I feel that it's so hard to juggle everything. Well, it's not meant to be, not meant to be happening. So that makes sense. So if you can, like I said, utilize those school resources, manage to connect with the teacher virtually every once in a while if you can. It's been helpful. I've been able to do that a couple times so far too. The best way, and the way that we really love going about keeping routine, is to use visuals. Visuals are great for everybody. There's going to be a more in-depth series about just visuals too, how to create them, questions and answers, and walking you through it. But placing some type of like visual schedule of what the day is going to look like and somewhere that the kid can see it would be really helpful for reducing anxiety and kind of letting them know what comes next. Like put it on the door, out to the garage, put it on their door if it needs to be more obvious, somewhere where they can see that. If you've got older kids, they can help kind of with the creation of that. That's a good thing. It's giving them choices, giving them a little bit more control again over the routine that they lost, and helping create a new one. And they can choose different things, like the order of what needs to go into that routine. Maybe they don't get to, put their whole day together, but they can choose which thing they're going to do at which time. Let's see. Oh, and then I'll show a couple examples on the next slide, but things are a lot more relaxed now, I think, when we come to our family. So the schedules really don't have to be as precise. Maybe they go in the same order. You do things in the same order that you did previous to being at home, but maybe not at the same time, especially if it's like 6 in the morning. And this kind of goes against that consistency that we were talking about, but also have a plan. They've been saying that being consistent is wonderful, and that's what you want to continue to do, but having something a little different to look forward to in that schedule will be great too. So maybe like Fridays, everybody's watching a movie together, or Sundays, the kids help cook one of those meals with you, like a lunch. Do you have a special dinner night, a Taco Tuesday? Whatever that is. This is also a really good time to practice daily living skills if you've got little kids. So what better time to potty train than when you're with each other 24 hours a day, or going through learning some grooming and things of that nature. Let me see. Oh, Teresa's answering. Okay, great. So when it comes to creating the visual routines, like I said, they can be either pictures or words and letters. A lot of the kids, younger kids, respond really well to pictures. A lot of our kids with autism or communication disorders really respond well to pictures. There's also those kids, though, that have hyperlexia and are all about those numbers and letters. So if they really are more drawn to things that are spelled out, that's where you would go with that. So there's a couple of examples of kind of what those look like. And then you just make them to suit your own family. Okay, when it comes to behaviors as communication. So you've probably heard it before, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but all behavior is communication, especially with young children or children who are nonverbal. Even adults use their behavior as communication. Examples of, I don't know, maybe when you're angry with someone, you're giving them a cold shoulder, you're not saying anything, but your behavior is an obvious communication, that you're irritated. I mean, everybody does this, they just don't really know it. So that's not any different with a child. So if the child's having some type of challenging behavior, usually there's a reason behind that. Well, I shouldn't say usually, there's always a reason behind that. So one of the things is to not take it personal. Everybody's kind of, getting used to their new normal at the same time. So I think we usually say pretty often, respond to the child, not to the behavior. Dwelling on the situation and keeping that going, it doesn't give the child a chance to kind of start over the new attitude once they, learn what they need to do or the situation has passed already. There's always reasons behind behavior, the functions of behavior. So there's usually 4 main reasons why somebody's acting the way they're acting. Either it's they want attention, that could be positive or negative forms of attention. Escape, they want to get out of something. My kids try to escape from doing their Lexia about 5,000 times a day. So that happens. Access to a toy, access to a different preferred activity, want to go outside. And then sensory seeking. People isolate sensory seeking, that it kind of, oh, what did it do that for? Can you see my screen still?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
It says it's paused. I don't know why. Oh well. They kind of think about only, not just when we talk about sensory seeking, but people have their own different sensory needs too, that they do, why people bite their nails and why people do different things like that. So think about it in those terms. So we try to reduce, and this is going to be challenging behaviors. Well, that's going to be probably next Monday, a whole series dedicated to that, really learning the function and figuring out how to find out the function of behavior and then what to do once you know. So I'm really going to just go over the top of this. But the best ways to reduce behaviors with support and not punishment. I don't mean like corporal punishment, like consequential punishment. So children, when they do learn with punishment, they only kind of learn what they did was wrong, but not how to change the behavior, or how to communicate in a more appropriate way. Being told don't do something, but not like this is what you should do instead. So it's kind of what we want to do. Prevent, teach, and then reinforce. So we talked about earlier using a visual. There's other things that we can do before behaviors occur that might make them not occur. So giving them choices, like we talked about, people are putting their visual schedule together and they get to choose which thing they want to do first. Using the routine itself, giving a warning, and then their use of a timer is a really great one too. Timers are excellent. So if they know, oh, this timer goes off, this means this. So it kind of becomes a thing that's expected. All those things can help to kind of prevent a behavior before it happens. Teaching an appropriate replacement behavior is a great one when it comes to talking about communication. You might have some kids that yell or scream or cry to get attention. And that's how they're communicating. So an appropriate replacement might be start with just like simply tapping on your shoulder, tapping on your arm. Hey, I need your attention. And if they can speak, then to use that as their replacement behavior also. Hey, I need you to say this if you need attention. This is one that's easy to do, but it's not at the same time. So I don't think that we're really used to it. But reinforce kiddos when they're being good. So there's many chances for teaching opportunities. We just don't always recognize them. So if a child is doing something the way that they're supposed to, or the way that you prefer, that's the perfect time to say, hey, you're doing a really great job doing this. And maybe that thing is being calm, or maybe that thing is asking at a really wonderful volume instead of screaming. Those are really good times to reinforce them for that, and as much as possible, so that they do that more in the future. It's kind of hard to train ourselves though to notice those things. I certainly need to remind myself of it. I'm like, hey, everything's really quiet right now. This is great. Go tell them how great it is. I always worry that it's gonna make it worse, but it doesn't. Let's see. There's resources for that one. We can put these in the chat also.
Oh, I'm having a hard time copying them and placing them in there. You want me just to type? Huh?
I can do that.
I mean, I'd love to if I knew how.
It probably doesn't have the same, it's not the same for you, huh?
Right.
You can open the document. Okay, I can get them in there for sure.
Okay.
It won't take long.
And there was a question about access to your PowerPoint, and I assumed that it would be available to people. Was I incorrect in that?
Yeah, I can email it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay.
Okay. And then the last one on here is prioritizing coping and calming strategies. Again, it's another thing that sounds easier than it is. You have about 1 million things going on right now. You're suddenly a full-time parent. The kids are home all day, no matter what. You might still be a full-time employee, so trying to do both at the same time. And now you're also a full-time teacher. So it's very difficult, I understand, to prioritize calming and coping strategies. But this is a really important thing to do. We know that it will help with anxiety and help with the decrease challenging behaviors when you make these things a priority. So there's a couple things. There's a couple of things that you can do. Choose a time that you know when your kid is usually having a pretty good time. I don't know if it's a certain time of day, or that they're just seem to be a little bit calmer than others. This is a really good time. That's a really good time to practice coping and calming skills. The link that you see below, and I'll send that out also, is this wonderful packet of all of these different coping skills you can do, all these different calming skills. So we use like, I know there's a couple that are saying like, blow on the pizza or blow out the candles for trying to take some deep breaths, or counting those kind of strategies. Those things will help tremendously. Also using the routine, that will help itself just a ton. Sorry, I talk too much and then I can't talk. And the other thing is to make access to those activities easy, so you know that if you're going to be busy. I talk to parents that are like, okay, well, I need my time to do this, whether it's making meals or doing their own work. So maybe ahead of time they set out like, okay, but here's some activities that you can do that you're not going to need my help with, or a ton of supervision. Some kids will need supervision no matter what, whether it's coloring or maybe it's tablet time. Those kind of things that be easily accessible, so that you can get back to what you're doing there. Let's see. I will start, and there's some more also coping calming resources. There's a webinar coming up on 4/22 that we are doing for coping and calming strategies. So that's going to be a whole nother of its own thing. Really goes really into depth. There'll be a lot of wonderful resources in there too. There's another webinar here for the same thing early in the day, and just some more resources. So I will get started putting those in the chat box. And if anybody has an email that they want, if they want a copy of the PowerPoint, I'd be happy to send that through email also, or any other way that I possibly can. Let's see. Forgive my learning technology. Okay. So I'll start putting those in the chat. Oh, you did pretty good, Teresa. Teresa, is there anything that you want to add?
You're doing a great job.
Oh, okay.
A lot of ideas. I just want to emphasize that, man, there's a plethora of information online.
Yeah.
And things that you probably have thought of 100 times, but I think just to see them with your eyes, and they might just work at that particular time where they didn't work before, is essential to get through this. This is tough. We need help, you need help, and yet you're so isolated in your home. And man, my heart goes out to you because it's just so hard. So please access the social media as much as you can, keeping in mind that all the information that's there is questionable. If you're going to research, I'd make sure that it's definitely professionally research-based information, because I've read in my research all sorts of crazy stuff that's in there that's against everything that we do, and that we know that works for our kids. So just keep that in mind, and also that every kid is different, and what's going to work for yours may not work for the next one. Thanks.
I think I'm getting that last one in there right now.
Okay.
So there's a ton of things to look at, and all those will be available in the PowerPoint too, so I don't have to worry about putting those anywhere else. Yep, so like I said, this is our first one. We'll hopefully be doing better and better as we go with advertising and getting the word out. We didn't really have too much of an opportunity beforehand, so we're going to get our families in here and get them everything we need. We figured we could start this one because it's just kind of skims over the top of the rest of the stuff that we're going to have. So,
Holly, do you have a list right there you can tell people the exact topics? I know you did touch on a couple of them.
I sure do. I can pull it right back up. Okay, let's see.
And it's every Monday and Wednesday at 4, right?
Every Monday and Wednesday at 4. And then we're going to add topics that our families come up with that they want to see on there, if there's anything they want to see more of. So coping and common strategies is going to be the very first thing. That's Wednesday. Challenging behaviors, I think that would be a popular one. It's a week from today. Function and communication training, so using more of that language. Your social stories.
It's not in this order though.
Huh?
It's not in this order though.
No, yeah. This is the order we kind of thought of them in, and then hopefully we'll have the dates nailed down a little bit ahead. We'll definitely have them about a week ahead. Parent and caregiver self-care, huge right now. Visual support, so really in depth about making those visual schedules, and any other kind of visuals that they need. Sleeping issues and eating issues. Those are fun ones too. I tried to stay away from that if I could. Toilet training, daily language activities, sibling relationships is probably huge right now. I might see if we can bump that one up a little bit. I was on a webinar earlier where they were like, what would you like to have be a topic? And they were like, my kids are fighting each other all day. So sibling relationships is going to be a good one. We might move that one up. And then me and Teresa will be back to do safety and wandering. I think we bumped that up to 5, 6.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So yeah.
Unless you want it sooner.
Whatever the people want, man.
Whatever the people want. And also, if community members have ideas, Holly,
yeah.
Do you recommend them like emailing us or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Whatever way we can get the information out, we absolutely will. We'll do what we can. So I think that's about all I got for it. 37 minutes, not too bad. I tried to keep it shorter. It's really hard to stay on these things all day. Okay. Any questions?
Nope.
Okay then. Well, thank you very much. Like I said, Wednesday at 4 will be the next one. That's going to be calming and coping strategies. And I think that's going to be Elizabeth and Chelsea. We have a lot of wonderful information. So if you need anything, let me know. Feel free to email me. I'll put my email in there also. And we can give as much information as we can. Oh, wow. Did that just go at the end of this? I don't know. Technology. Okay. You guys have a wonderful Monday.
Bye.
Bye.